Let's talk about procrastination. It's important to know that we all struggle with procrastination. And procrastination has nothing to do with your work. Procrastination is just a form of stress relief. In this video, I will be talking you through how you can stop procrastination backed by science. My name is Namdi and welcome to my channel. I can remember how wanting to do a certain task every day, the next thing is it gets put away and you are now so much focused on doing what you'd never really planned to do in a day. And I can imagine taking out time to write out all the tasks that you want to perform in a day. Immediately, I just go to WhatsApp, checking my memes, my updates to see if Onyuku has posted a funny meme for me to laugh away my sorrows. Sound familiar? It's important that we all notice we are not procrastinators. We just have a habit of procrastinating. And I want you to note something, that anytime you plan to do something, the brain always has another thing in mind. And it's important that you note that our body is structured and hardwired to procrastinate, because the way we are being created as human beings, we are always looking for the pleasure-seeking approach to get our days going by. That is why Instagram, Facebook, YouTube becomes a lot more interesting whenever you want to do a task that is important. And you can imagine the frustration that always comes afterwards when we realize that we actually watched TikTok videos, we realize that we actually watched Instagram videos, and it's the end of work and we've not been able to achieve anything going forward. So science has it that the brain will always have a different thing it wants to do, no matter how important your task is. And our brain is structured to be very efficient and not effective. So obviously it will always tend to where makes it pleasure seeking. Now I want to talk to you about the limbic system. The limbic system is a structure in the brain that is responsible for our memory, emotions, amongst other things like temperature control and mood. And the limbic system's responsibility is to help us prevent harm. It doesn't want us to go through the struggle of harm. So if you place your hand on a hot surface, the limbic system reminds you that this is a hot surface and it takes you away from there. And another big elephant in the room, which is the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is now our decision-making system in the brain. The funny thing is, the limbic system has an automatic response of always trying to drive you away from the unpleasant experience, while the prefrontal cortex makes the decision and it's not as automatic as the limbic system. And the prefrontal cortex, usually you have to engage it. So when you say, I want to start doing this work, now you have engaged the prefrontal cortex. But the limbic system will be waiting for you, waiting patiently, so that you can easily just want to disengage the prefrontal cortex by wanting something more pleasant. Then the limbic system kicks in and distracts you way further from what it is that you want to do. That may not be the plan that you've actually outlined for the day, but that is just how the system is structured to work. So now I want you to understand something very important, backed by science. We are all created and hardwired to procrastinate, and it is nothing too different from everybody. But there are ways that you can structure your body to be able to fight this habit of procrastinating. There is a way that the body is structured, and that is to keep seeking pleasure. And one important substance that is being released whenever the procrastination bug hits and you begin to do those pleasant things is dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical produced to enable the brain accept something good. So in this case, whenever you procrastinate, dopamine is released. You now get a hit or a supply of dopamine in your body. Then it feels good. Then anytime you procrastinate further and do something more pleasure-seeking, dopamine is produced. But because of the way we are structured as human beings, there are ways that we can actually delay the production of that dopamine so that it will be released when we have done something it is that we want to do. So that brings it up to, how do we now stop this procrastinating? And one way we can do it as human beings is, how can you delay that pleasure that you get from that little task that gives you happiness that you intend to do, to delaying it to the bigger excitement you will get whenever you complete that task that you needed to do. And another thing again is, how bad do we make ourselves feel whenever that thing that we wanted to do is not properly done? So these are ways that you can structure your system to respond to your habit of procrastinating. Another typical example, let's say you are struggling with some health issues, or a partner is sick, or you remember the school fees that you need to pay, or an engagement that didn't work out well, and you're basically stressed, and you need to be at work on Monday morning to be able to get things done. You need to book that flight, you need to talk to your boss, you need to talk to clients, you need to get on a sales call to get things actually to be done in the office. And now you remember all those stress that you are going through. Now the brain says, don't worry, keep it, let's watch some cartoons, let's watch some TikTok videos. What happens now is, when you do that, dopamine is released and you tend to feel good. But what I want you to understand is, because we are not procrastinators naturally, we just have a habit of procrastinating. And when it comes to habit has three main parts. Now the trigger, which in our case is the stress, and the pattern, what you actually now do whenever the trigger is happening. That is, you procrastinate. You go watch some YouTube videos. You go watch some TikTok videos. You go watch some memes. You are distracted. So that's the pattern. Now the third time is the reward. That hit of dopamine that comes into your system to give you the pleasure, the immediate pleasure that you are seeking, that relieves that stress. According to Mel Robbins, one way that you can structure your system to respond to this trigger and the pattern is, number one, you have to acknowledge that yes, procrastination is about to happen. Number two, you interrupt the pattern by counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The reason why you count backwards is it enables the brain to re-engage into an unfamiliar counting pattern. So once you do that, it interrupts that pattern that has already been established. Now, you take one task out of the list of the tasks that you have written and performed. And once you perform that one task, voila, you are free from that cycle of procrastinating. Now you are no more rewarding the pattern, and now you are ultimately engaged into doing the meaningful task. The most difficult part is that inertia. Once the body's reluctance to perform activity is broken, then it continues to do things for very long. Now, it's been realized that once that one thing that you want to do for the next 5 minutes is done, 80% of the people tend to continue to do those activities that will actually solve the problem they want to do in the tasks that they have written. So, dear friends, this is an iron-proof, research-backed way to stop or beat procrastination, so that you can actually focus on what it is that you need to do without seeking shots of dopamine that will just make you feel bad at the end of the day. If you love this video, I want you to give me a thumbs up. And if you are looking for information on how to make 2024 your best year of your life, I want you to watch this video here. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Now stop watching, stop procrastinating, go and start doing something. Thank you for your time.